Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, reports of the chairman. I have none, so we will move on to public participation. I have 5 people signed up, so what I will do is call each name. You'll just say your name and address. It's 3 minutes, and during public participation, we don't respond back, so if there's a follow-up, Joe could follow up with you about any questions. So the first person I have is Jennifer Panaccia. Yeah, oh, come up. Yeah, come right over here.
Actually sit at the table. Is the red
Yeah.
light on?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That was fine. Check and make sure it works.
No pressure now. My name is Jennifer Panaccia. I live on Williamsburg Drive. I am a proud Monroe L mom, and I wanted to talk about the ad hoc committee. Good to go?
Let's go.
Okay. I am admittedly one of the many that didn't follow the Board of Ed closely at all. My kids are young, so it really wasn't a thought yet. Everything was going well. They're happy at school. And I'd imagine how this restructuring situation has snowballed is extremely frustrating for those of you that this is your daily life. You're not being, as the chairman commented today, criticized for operating in secret. You're being criticized for not laying it all out on the table. Minutes and agendas on the website to us are not laying it all out there. The moment school closings became an option, that should have been communicated to parents right then and there through the administration, not through our principal or through the news, so that we would have had the opportunity to be at meeting number 1 and to advocate for our kids from the beginning before they started coming home in tears because they heard that they could be kicked out of their school. At the Monroe PTO meeting on February 20th, the superintendent told us that at the February 13th ad hoc meeting, it had taken a weird turn. The architect proposed F1 option that nobody had heard before. Then we heard F2, and there was a lot of transparent information written out at that last meeting and a lot of numbers being reviewed, but in my opinion, it was not a ton of conversation. If the plan was to bring the new audience up to speed, then we're there, but if the meetings continue this way, are we going to end up at a vote in May where the options are B or F because we've come this far and nobody has spoken up? A person with zero stake in this besides, her paycheck as the architect is the one putting these options out there to us. An emotional plea to save our school and to tell you about why my kids love it is useless because emotion isn't going to move the needle in this situation. Nodding and smiling through these meetings isn't going to do it. So I beg you, put people in the committee room that should have a say, that their families have a stake in this, and that can be part of these conversations to create options that will work for everyone. There are other great options being discussed among the parents. Please use us. I'm sure you're being bombarded directly with all of our feedback, but use us. Allow more parents to be on the committee. We can have parent meetings and filter through the ideas and information out there so that you can have productive parent perspective and some great ideas come your way that I'm certain are being lost in all of the chaos right now. Do the same for the teachers so parents and teachers are providing constant productive input, not just during public participation of certain meetings. The superintendent said that the goal is to do right by the kids, and to parents, that's the plan of least disruption. Giving up your conference room for an art room isn't embarrassing, as it was stated. That's a decision to be celebrated. I can't imagine how difficult your position is, but at our PTO meeting, you got to tell the parents of kids who love that art room that it's the happiest place upstairs. 100 little victories like that can add up to fixing the space issues if we open Chalk Hill and work together towards the plan with least disruption. Please restructure your committee, put us in the conversation, and let us do our job as parents of advocating for our children. Next year's budget doesn't feel pressing to us when the next decade of my kids' life is a conversation right now. They aren't being given a voice because they're kids, and they spend more of their day at school than they do with their family. This decision is their daily life. Their education is their future. You wouldn't let someone steamroll through your life and your career without having a say. You've got our attention, and you've got our involvement now. If we can get this right, If we finally feel like this committee and the situation isn't getting away from us anymore, then I'm happy to focus all my energy on your budget.
Thank you.
Thank you for hearing me. I appreciate it.
Okay. Maria Doulis. Okay, Suzanne, just state your name and address.
Okay. My name's Maria Doulis, and I live on 187 Old Zor Road. Start. Good evening. My name is Maria Doulis, and I am the Monroe SEPTA president. In response to families feeling blindsided by learning about these major ad hoc developments through the Monroe Sun article rather than the district, we decided to reach out directly to the BOE to seek clarity, transparency, and proactive communication from district leadership moving forward. On February 26th, I emailed the BOE and Superintendent Kabza to address concerns from parents who felt excluded due to the lack of widely shared critical information. We requested the following: parent liaisons for each school and special education families, a rotating parent liaison seat on the ad hoc committee, collaboration on the district survey, joint community outreach efforts, and live streaming ad hoc committee meetings. BOE Chair Ferris, who is also the chair of the ad hoc committee, declined adding new members, saying the committee was already formed. He also mentioned that he really needs parents for the upcoming budget vote. He also stated we will be in contact about a shared survey to possibly expand on the one sent out today. However, as of today, no district survey has been received. On February 28th, I followed up with a detailed explanation on the importance of these requests and sought clarification on BOE policy number 9130, as it does not indicate that additional members cannot be added. This email was ignored. Hours later, Superintendent Kabza finally sent out an update about the ad hoc facility study. It shouldn't take parents raising concerns for basic communication to happen. This is unacceptable. On March 1st, I notified the BOE, Superintendent Kabza, and the First Selectman that SEPTA would be distributing a community survey and provided a direct link. As we have always done with SEPTA-related happenings, I also requested that principals include it in their newsletters. On March 2nd, Saturday, Superintendent Kabza informed me that he instructed the principals not to distribute the survey, claiming it could cause confusion with the district's own survey. Yet no district survey has been sent. SEPTA has since been sharing our survey across community social media pages. A QR code is available tonight for easy access for anyone who hasn't filled it out. The results will be made public before the March 13th BOE meeting. This concludes the update from Monroe SEPTA. However, I'm not done yet. I would like to take a moment to speak as a parent and a community member. I wear many hats, but none outweigh that I am a parent with a voice and that advocacy runs through my veins. Take a good look at all the parents in this room. These are the faces of your future voters, your future budget approvals, your future community leaders. These are the families whose children walk through your schools every day. Every decision made in this room directly impacts them. Parents and community members have the right to be directly informed and involved at every turn. No exceptions, no excuses. I will continue being a voice for my children and all the children in this community. We will continue to ask questions, demand transparency, and advocate for meaningful parent involvement. We are not just parents, we are partners in our children's education, and we expect to be treated as such.
Thank you. Liz Madungo.
Hi, I'm Liz Medugno. I'm at 37 Gaybauer Road. I am a Monroe L mom. I have 3 children, one who's graduated Monroe L, one who is currently in Monroe L, and I have a baby who I'm really hopeful that will be able to attend Monroe L. And I was also one of the 2 who created the Board of Education proposed change survey that surfaced online last week. And it was really more of a way to get the community's input. I know a lot of the Monroe L parents are really going at this emotionally. And instead of coming up here and emotionally making a plea to keep the school, myself and Amy Lakioma really wanted to see what the community wanted. And in doing so, I think the survey was overall helpful to formulate some thoughts of parents across the town, and really not come from a place of emotion and misinformation. The sample size was 500 people, composed of everyone from parents from different elementary schools, Monroe residents, people who had kids in the schools, who have had kids who graduated the schools, students, faculty, and staff. So it was a pretty nice sample size of the community. And the two main concerns of the community are, do we keep Monroe L or do we repurpose it? And then starting the therapeutic program or not having a therapeutic program. And I'm not here like Maria, and I can't speak for SEPTA parents, but I did see some common things that the survey did show. The town does have a desire to support the families, the parents, the children of kids who have special education and have therapeutic needs, but not everyone was convinced that a therapeutic school for 10 kids and repurposing Monroe L was the correct answer. Many parents of special education students have had the opportunity to talk to over the week, one-on-one. We're not in support of taking their kids out of programs that are already working for them, programs in other towns that have given them a good education for their kids and opportunities that they really needed for their children. Some people who took the survey thought that Monroe L had to be repurposed to obtain a therapeutic school, so they voted for option F1, but then in their comments suggested that the school be elsewhere and not to disrupt the current students at Monroe. So overall, 82% of families did want to keep Monroe Elementary School, which would probably be higher if they were aware at the time of taking the survey that Chalk Hill was a second option. But I did have a lot of people had an overwhelming response that Chalk Hill did seem like a good fit in comparison of the two schools. People were divided about the idea of isolating the therapeutic students versus integrating them at Chalk Hill, but overall, most parents and residents strongly opposed closing Monroe Elementary School, and some of the main concerns included closing an entire neighborhood school for a small population of therapeutic students. They raised concerns that if Chalk Hill was used for 4th to 6th grade, that 4th graders and 6th graders shouldn't be in the same school because it's very different developmentally. When Chalk Hill was a 5th and 6th grade school, the community members, former students, counselors, and other staff said that structure really worked well, and we already have evidence that it worked well in the past. The transition for students, the increased bus rides, the traffic at the other elementary schools, all of these things were concerns for the people filling out this survey. There was a strong sense of community overall throughout this survey that for small neighborhood schools, I think that's really what the basis of the reason a lot of people have moved to Monroe is these small neighborhood schools, and this would be disrupted. This would be a disruption for all of the schools, not just for Monroe Elementary, if this decision was to go through. So in conclusion, residents are conflicted about having a therapeutic school versus not having a therapeutic school and how best to support the parents of the kids that do need these services. But overwhelmingly, people who filled out the survey want to keep Monroe Elementary School as a neighborhood school. And I think that was the biggest takeaway. And I, as a parent, am also supporting that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Braden. And Amy.
Hi, I'm Bryden Lakyama at 264 Moosehole Road. Hi, my name is Bryden Lakyama. I am a 11-year-old 5th grade student at Monroe Elementary School. This year I was awarded the first ever Upstander Award. If you don't know, an upstander is a person that stands up for something or someone when it's needed. I won this award by standing up for my friend when he was being bullied. Today I am here to stand up for what is right, which in this case would be putting Plan B into action instead of Plan F. Neither of these plans affect me. However, these plans affect other kids, including my brother, and I don't just care about myself. Here are some reasons why Plan B is better than Plan F. 1. Monroe is a great school for kids with great teachers. 2. Separating special needs kids is not cool. 3. Fourth grade is too early to take kids out of elementary school. 4. Fourth grade kids are not mature enough to be with sixth graders. I'm not saying this to be offensive, but if you heard the things kids in sixth grade talk about, you would agree. Please just put Plan B into action. It's not that hard.
You want to say your name? That's going to be hard to top, but. Good evening. My name is Amy Lakioma, and I am the parent of 2 Monroe L students. Like many sitting in this room and the first 2 that spoke, I was a little disheartened to learn of the proposed facilities projects via an article in the Monroe Sun. The lack of communication not only created a sense of worry and shock, but also distrust. My husband and I then attended the February 18th Board of Ed meeting where we sat with 2 other Monroe L parents. Although not a peep was said, we were told by the chairman that we needed to calm down and that these changes were years away. That same week at a Monroe L PTO meeting, parents were again relayed this information, being told no school will close. Both of these statements are clear misrepresentation of the current situation. Although the completion of these projects themselves may be years away, the grant which applies for these proposals is due in June, and therefore the decision will be made soon. And although no building may be physically closing, Plan F clearly changes who will be in that building, and it is not our Monroe L students. Like many sitting around this table and in the audience, my family did not come to Monroe. We stayed in Monroe. My boys are 3rd generation Monroe L. We purchased my husband's family home so that our children could have the same opportunity he did, a small neighborhood school that promotes feelings of community, safety, and belonging. So while my initial reactions have been full of emotions, I knew we had to start thinking about this logically. As Liz mentioned, we worked together to develop a survey that would provide us real data on what the town people wanted. 82% of people who responded support Plan B. Parents do not feel that their children are socially or emotionally ready to move on from elementary school after 3rd grade and do not feel it is developmentally appropriate for their 4th grade students to be mixed in with 6th grade students. The schools are nearing at and exceeding capacity. Where is the logic in closing an entire neighborhood school building to segregate 10 outplay students from their same age peers? 10 students between the ages of 4 and 13. Not only does this not make sense space-wise, but it is a clear lack of inclusion. And not cool, as Bryden said. You may think you are supporting the special needs community by going for Plan F, but I urge you to speak to these families and you will find different.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody else in the audience for public participation? No? Okay. Moving on. Consent.
Would it just be, point of order, would it just be possible, I know this is unorthodox, but maybe Jen could kind of just a brief explanation of what a therapeutic program encompasses, just kind of lend to some clarification purposes.
Jenny's given the update. I mean, I don't know how appropriate it is to do right now.
I don't know if we can go.
I'd be happy to do something like that, but I think it's not a brief presentation. I mean, I have a presentation that I did at the facility.
And I just meant in general how they work.
Maybe we can do it at another Board of Ed meeting.
It's up to you guys.
We could put you on the agenda to present it. I think that would be better because I don't know how far we can go off the agenda for Robert's rules. So
That's true.
I'd say let's put you on the agenda for, we'll look at the agenda for the next couple meetings and we'll definitely add that presentation.
In between this meeting and our next meeting is
The ad hoc next meeting is
That's-
March 13th.
That's what you want.
a summary of that.
Or maybe during that meeting. I know these are live streams, so I feel like maybe that would be better to reach more people, but we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
All right. Consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions regarding the minutes? Does anyone have any questions regarding the warrants? None? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve consent agenda as presented?
Motion.
Dennis, second. Brad. All in favor?
No.
Motion passes. All right, reports of the committee. Did I miss something?
Discussion.
Oh, discussion, yeah.
Did you do the budget transfers too?
Oh, no. Oh, and any questions on the budget transfers? None? All right, discussion. All right. Now I can move on, right? All right, report of the committees. Any reports? No, we don't have our student reps tonight. We met for policy tonight. We have, I think, 2 policies to vote on later. But that's it for policy. Okay. All right, report of the superintendent.
We'll start with Jen to do the special education monthly update.
Okay, we'll start with enrollment. So when we look at our numbers for February, we had 1 student who moved into district, we had 1 student who was dismissed from services, and we had 6 students who were made eligible for special education. So our total number now is at 665. Looking at our financials, our spending in outside agencies increased by $14,000 in the month of February. In tuition public, we're showing a small credit of $13,000. Our tuition private increased by $4,600, and our homebound instruction increased by $7,200. I mention this every once in a while, but we do have 4 students in the hospital currently, so we pretty much have averaged between, I'd say, 4 and 5 kids almost every month this year. Transportation preschool, we had to increase that line, our spending in that line by $1,100, and all our other lines are pretty much stable at this point. A very recent update for excess cost. I just found out this afternoon that we received our first installment for excess cost in the amount of $721,000. So that's not represented in my financials, so they will look so much nicer tomorrow. So that's really great, and that's 75% of the $961,000 that we're getting. So we're going to get another $240,000 in the end of May. I don't know if anybody's been seeing the news lately, but there has been a lot of conversation about lawmakers. They voted on giving all of the districts, well, a total of $40 million extra for excess costs this year, funding that. They got the votes that they needed to pass, but we're not exactly sure what Lamont is going to do at this time. So if that were to pass, we would be getting another $205,000. But if we don't, we still have another $240,000 coming in from our original amount that we were getting of $961,000 for the year.
I think it was vetoed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
vetoed.
Did he?
Vetoed by the
Did
governor.
he do it?
Yeah.
So that last thing I read was like at 3:30. Okay, he was going to veto the line.
Votes on Wednesday, and they need 2/3 of the votes to
Override.
pass it and override the governor. So everybody email your representatives and senators, please.
Please.
Questions? Okay.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. Later on in new business, we'll be talking about the Jackie Hollow and Massick graduation ceremonies, just to put it in perspective so we have the time to vote. I know Steve and Julie are here tonight. Because we do more than 180 school days, we can set our graduation date before April 1st. So historically, we still usually wait until this meeting in March to do it because we to see if we're kind of out of the woods for snow and whatnot. And it seems like we are right now. It lines up perfectly. If we have no more snow days, I would recommend that we do Jockey Hollow's recognition night, June 9th, Monday, June 9th. One of the things that we did during COVID was we started doing Jockey Hollow ceremony outdoors at Massick, and we set up a rain day. So if it's crummy on the 9th, we go to the 10th, and then if it's crummy again on the 10th, then we go inside at Massick on the 10th. So it would be Jockey Hollow graduation June 9th, June 9th, rain date of the 10th, and then inside on the 10th if it's still raining. And then Massick would be the next 2 days. So June 11th would be the Massick day, and Thursday, June 12th, would be the rain day for Massick with with the rain date inside, you got to have the rain inside today. So that will be the recommendation before you when you get to new business. Okay.
Yep.
I appreciate everyone coming tonight. I do want to, I don't know if I'll address all the questions, and please, I've received a few emails, not as many as you might think, or I would have thought. I'm happy to talk to anybody separately. Sometimes this is a frustrating venue, and I know like Alan was kind of intimating a few minutes ago, where you have questions and you want to be able to have a back and forth, and that's kind of not how we're set up for right here. But we have also talked about the March 13th deadline. I do want to, I'm sorry, not the March 13th deadline, the March 13th meeting where we'll have public participation. I do want to share just a few things to make sure we have tried to make this as transparent as possible. I take to heart the comments that are being said about communication. I'll own a piece of that for sure. And we can always improve on communication, and we'll continue to do so. With that being said, just so everybody's on the same page, and I put this information out, we tried to make the information as accessible as possible. And this process has been in the works for, I don't know how many years, because we started talking about this at least 3 years ago, when we started seeing our enrollment numbers start to really tick up and our utilization at the buildings really start to become overwhelmed. So this conversation's been going on for a while. I understand people aren't, reading the minutes to Board of Ed meetings and things like that. In order to try to kind of streamline where to go, if you go to the Monroe Public Schools website, right in the middle of the page, so this is, here's the website. If you scroll down, there's some buttons here, and then right here, there's a quick link for the district facility study. I hope people have found this by now. To me, this is the best place to go to see kind of what's been discussed, because this goes all the way back right to the beginning when we first engaged with Silver Petroselli to start doing the work. So any information that anyone needs up to this point, any presentations that have been given, any information that's been shared out at these meetings is all right here. And it starts with the original board meeting back in September when Silver Petroselli came here to do the assets and deficiencies. So look at our buildings to find out what structural things needed changing. They went through all the mechanicals, all the electricals, roofs, boilers, all that kind of stuff. Then in October 21st, our second meeting in October, Silver Petroselli came back with MP Planning Group. MP Planning Group shared the district enrollment projections with us at that meeting, and we looked at our utilization rates, and that's where we see it just proved what we already knew, that our schools are at and exceeding capacity in a lot of areas. From there, all the ad hoc, again, this is just one landing page for everybody. So from there, you have all of the agendas, the presentations, anything that was shared out at any of the ad hoc meetings. It's all right there publicly for everybody to see. I just want to make sure everybody knows that that's all there. So you can follow through as we go along. Obviously, our next meeting is the 25th. At our last meeting, Michelle Miller from Silver Petroselli reviewed any of the preliminary, and she really made an emphasis on the preliminary needs at each school in the two configurations that we've discussed, as well as very preliminary costs for each of those configurations. So I just want to make sure people know that's there. People are saying, "Oh, you're frustrated that people are sending out surveys." I am not remotely frustrated. I appreciate it. I think it was Ms. Meduno who was speaking and giving some of the information. That's great information for us. We appreciate it. We are going to send out a survey. The reason why I didn't want another survey sent out is from another organization, because we're going to have one from the schools. I've already received some information from people that were like, "Hey, I filled out your survey the other day." That wasn't our survey. We're going to have our own. So I don't want people to get survey fatigue. I don't want people to misunderstand that this is a survey from an outside organization and not the school. So that was the reason why we did not distribute this other survey coming up. All that being said, people have an opportunity to come to the meeting on the 13th. Please do. We want to hear your voices. I want that. That information is great information. We're looking for it. We're gonna seek it as well. The other thing is we have a website. An email address dedicated to just the facilities study. So if you go to facility study or if you want to send an email to facilitystudy@monroeps.org, that comes right to Sheila and I, and we'll get back to you as quickly as possible. We've had a couple of people reach out to us, but again, facilitystudy@monroeps.org, we'll do that. So I just wanted people to have some of that information. I hear you loud and clear on the communication. We will try to be more clear as we move forward and make sure everybody's in the loop. We want everybody to have a say. What I've constantly emphasized is there's no decision that's going to be made without the public input. There's no way that ad hoc committee is going to make, and all they're doing is making a recommendation to the Board of Education. There's no way they're making a recommendation without hearing from the community. That's as important as everyone at the table. We were told when we created the committee, the best practice was to have a committee of about 9 to 10 people. We try to extend it to make sure it was as inclusive as possible. We have parents on it. We have administrators, teachers, members from other boards on it. But there is a limit to that, and I get that. And maybe that could be a topic for future discussion. But I think the long and short of it is we understand, we hear you. We want to make sure that we're continue to get that, to get your feedback back. So please, if you're sending out surveys, I have no problem with that. And just get the information back to us like you did tonight. I mean, that's fantastic. That's what it's all about. We're not going to move forward without that. So I don't know if anyone has any questions about this stuff here.
Joe, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What is the plan? I'm not on the committee, and I'm ashamed to say I haven't gone to any of the meetings, so I apologize for that. But what is the date that the ad hoc committee plans to bring forward their recommendation to this board for?
I thought it was between April and May, to the Board of Ed, you mean, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe it's between April and May.
I should be asking.
And that's if we can get to a decision. I mean, I think my understanding is June is when we can apply for it.
June
If we're not
15th.
ready, then we wait the year.
And then we could reapply next year?
We would reapply in the following June. So if the committee can't come to a conclusion or we can't agree, we're not going to.
Because I agree that timeline seems,
It's very tight.
it's giving me
Yep.
anxiety.
Yep.
Because it's March.
Yeah, I mean, that's just when you apply for the state funding. So if we can't, as a committee, come together for that, then we just wait the year, and the following years when we.
But in order to apply for the state funding, as I understand it, we have to give them a nice little package tied up with a bow by that date. Is that correct?
Correct. Which is why we're saying, that's the date that they want it. It's not necessarily what we don't know what what will come out of the next few meetings.
So just for clarification purposes, if the ad hoc committee can't come to a decision, that throws everything off a year? Is that what you're saying?
Because we have to, my understanding, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is the ad hoc committee will come together with something to present to the Board of Ed, and then the Board of Ed is what will vote on it.
Yeah.
The
So
final.
if the ad hoc committee cannot come to a conclusion on a scenario to move forward, then we would keep going until, and then again, we'd have to wait a whole year till the following June to apply for state funding.
June 15th.
Yes.
Joe, is the ad hoc committee, sorry, were you done? I'm sorry.
No, I didn't, that doesn't really make much sense because the ad hoc committee doesn't really vote on it per
No.
se. They
Just makes a
It's just
recommendation.
making a
I
recommendation.
think the ad hoc committee's
The
job
consensus.
is to make a
A recommendation
recommendation
based
To
on
us,
all the
to you guys.
information.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yes.
then we will come and present the option to the Board of Ed, and then the Board of Ed will vote on it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly how it has. That's how
Yeah.
it
has to work.
Right. So that would all have to be done prior to June. So again, we're not pushing it to get to June if we cannot come up with a solution that everyone can, that the ad hoc committee can present to the Board of Ed. And the Board of Ed might get the proposal and not agree on it. So there's a lot of different moving parts.
And the June 15th is not our date. That's
No,
the state
it's the
date.
state date.
That's the
And
Office of
again-
Policy and Management. That's not us.
Right. And again, we're not going to just do it to get it in by June. If we don't like anything that's moving forward with it,
Point of order, though, Chair. As this goes on, though, the maintenance of the different buildings and fixing it, that continues. We're not stopping that process. That's continuing. This is a whole different scenario. So, and it's in discussions, and discussions only at this point. So,
Yes.
just so you know.
My question was just going to be the outcome of the ad hoc committee. Was it to recommend one
Yeah.
recommendation, or was it to present, here are our final options and configurations, and then the Board of Ed makes a decision?
My understanding, and I think
Go ahead.
Jerry's saying something different than I would say. My understanding was that the ad hoc committee would make a recommendation to the board.
One recommendation.
Just
Right,
one.
to the board, and then the board would vote on that.
So they can come present something that we have no interest in them presenting on, and
Correct.
Right. And I think it's important too, like, we eliminated every option that closed Monroe L, because there were a lot of options, and the options, all that closed Monroe L completely were off the table.
Be clear. Ad hoc committee.
The ad hoc committee,
The ad hoc
sorry.
committee.
Let me see, yeah, the ad hoc committee, when the options that were presented to us, we
Yes,
only
we,
went forward with the ones that kept Monroe L at least operate. I mean, I know there's two different options, but those are the only two options that were presented to us that kept
Yes.
Monroe L open. So that's why we came to that.
as an alumni of Monroe L, I took it very seriously, yes.
Right.
Right, but just to be clear for the
I was
public,
gonna say, so did
everybody
I.
on the Board of Ed here is not on the
No,
ad hoc
there's only
committee.
three
There's only
members from
three
the Board of
members
Ed.
that are on the ad
Yeah.
hoc committee.
It's myself, Dave Ferris, and Jerry Stevens. We're the three
Thank you.
Board of Ed representatives
Be careful
on the
you
ad hoc
wheeze.
committee. And most of the Board of Ed has not been to the meetings. I think only Dennis, right?
I've been to one.
Went to one. So they don't even know, they don't get
Way
the
to call
information.
us out, Christine.
Well, no, I'm just saying.
No,
like,
I already admitted I
Give me a
haven't
hand. Give me a
gone.
hand.
But I'm just saying, like, they're hearing the same information from, right, everything
Yeah.
else.
Is there a potential, I know this may be out of left field, that the ad hoc committee looks at A, B, C, D, E, I don't know how many there were, F, did you go to F?
G.
G.
I believe we went to G.
And
H?
says,
Yeah.
okay, we could take a little bit of this and a little bit of this and create like a whole new scenario that hasn't been on the table yet?
I think
think that was done.
for one of them.
That was already done?
We've kind of done
That's why
that
you got
already. I kind of equate it to some extent, to your point, the way we just did the school calendar, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. We had 4 proposals in front of us, and we went with the 5th, which was like, hey, we like a little from this, a little from
Right,
this.
that's what I'm
So
curious
there-
about, because
yeah,
that was a
there is
good
still-
exercise for me
yeah.
to see that
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sheila presented us 4 scenarios, and we were like, we like a little of this and a little of that and none of that, and created a whole new scenario. So I was curious if it could end up in the same.
Yeah, absolutely, because we're still, like I said, we had it was through G, and then there were different things we didn't like, and we kind of went back and forth, and different, I think there's even another option, possibly being, not option, but thinking about making Chalk Hill a 3-grade school. That's what's going to be presented at the next meeting. Just, even if we don't use it for 3 grades in the future, you know,
Well, right.
enrollment grows 10 years down the road. So I think we're going to look at even making Chalk Hill a 3-grade school. Not that we would put 3 grades in it, but we're looking at like every different scenario and like trying to think 20 years into the future where, you know, our
Yeah, because I
population
feel
could be.
But for the-
we
excuse
make
me.
decisions, sorry Dennis, like based on what our needs are in the moment, like closing Chalk Hill, right? We could talk about that till the end of time. But it didn't help us now, right? So if we make decisions that are for the here and now, it could affect us, like you said, in
Right.
20 years when houses turn over once again and
Right, so we're
we're
trying
in
to
the
think,
same
we're
place.
trying to think down the line too. Yes,
Just for clarity.
yeah.
The discussions on the building should happen at the ad hoc committee meetings. That's where all the decisions are looking at and all the options are looking at, and that's where the discussion should be at this point in time. So that would be the better place to have it, so they can have all of the information they need to make decisions. Please.
Is there public participation at the ad hoc
So public
committees?
participation is at the next
Next
ad
ad
hoc
hoc.
meeting on March 13th.
So
Is that
for parents who can't make that, or
It's
people who
here.
are concerned, what is the best avenue for them to weigh in? The email
There's
address?
2 things, yeah. Like I said, I'll be sending out, we're sending out a survey, and then that email address. I'll share that, all those any emails that we get in through there will be shared with the ad hoc committee.
Yeah. But I encourage all the parents to come to the the ad hoc meeting, because that will have public participation.
The only thing I would say is.
Are we allowed to ask questions?
No.
Not,
You can ask
I'll
me,
be
you can't
here
answer.
after. If you want.
Huh?
I'll stick around after.
Yeah,
That's all.
unfortunately.
Okay. I apologize for any comments that came off as flippant or anything when I was at the Monroe Elementary meeting. I love that art room too. I just want to make my plug. I love that art room. My flippant comment was about the fact that we had no. It was really more about the space in the buildings. That's what I was talking about. We lost our conference room to that art room. It's a great space, but it was not at all a shot at the kids or what's happening in that room. So just want to make sure that was clear.
And just, Jen, you've been a part of all those meetings? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on,
Yeah, I just want to make sure because
Yep.
when you're talking therapeutic,
Yep.
there's a
Yep.
lot of that goes into
Yep,
that.
Jen is
so
part of that.
Are the principals part of those meetings? Have they been
We
there?
have representatives from the secondary. so
Working over there.
Put Steve on
Mr.
there.
Swenson.
And then Lee is the principal from elementary. So we have, yeah.
But then we bring it to the next admin meeting.
So they're being debriefed.
So they're
Yes.
looked at every scenario.
Good.
They've helped create the pros and con lists that
Oh,
are
good.
on the landing page
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. If you go on the
Okay.
landing page, you see pros and cons from each of the scenarios. That was all done with the administrators. We broke up into groups where we had again a representative sample of elementary, middle, high school administrators all working together, looking at each of the scenarios, and then we debrief together as a big group.
And the teachers, is there a teacher representation?
We have Sue Dixon and Ralph Franco.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I should have known all those things.
That's okay.
Okay. All right, moving on, presentation.
You got it. We've consistently been working on ways to leverage artificial intelligence to support teaching, learning, assessment, and student engagement. If used efficiently and correctly, the possibilities are endless and powerful. This summer, we held a 3-day AI Institute, which consisted of a committee of about 15 people, teachers and administrators. Thanks to Dennis and Alan, who both attended the community roundtable as part of that institute. B.A. Baracus had the A team. We have the AI team here with us today. So I want to thank instructional leader Jamie Sherry, Massic Social Studies teacher Emily Wozniak, Monroe Elementary teacher Sean Serafino, and Jackie Hollow teacher Jacqueline Flynn for all the work they've done to identify all the powerful ways we can harness AI in education to bring our best practices to our staff. Each of these three, along with Jamie, have been working together to get information out to our respective grade levels. So they're going to share kind of where we are, what we've done. There's some really exciting, powerful things that we can do with AI, and they say it way better than I can. So we'll get out of the way and get the presentation.
So thank you everyone for having us, and we're here today to talk about AI in the Monroe Public Schools. In tonight's presentation, we're going to highlight how we have addressed AI in the Monroe Public Schools so far, what our framework is moving forward, the use of AI in the schools, and specifically the program we've been using, School AI, and some next steps moving forward.
We are lucky enough to get a real good head start on taking a look at what AI can do in the classroom and also help our teachers. So like Mr. Cobbs had said, we met over the summer. We had an AI task force where we met in the Jackie Hollow Library, and we discussed with administrators, teachers at all different levels to collaborate on how to integrate AI into what we're doing with teachers and also in the classroom. So again, a huge thank you to Alan and Dennis for stopping by. We had a committee of community members, teachers, where we discuss some of the concerns and hear feedback on what we can do with AI in the classroom. We also have, at that meeting, we decided on using a program called School AI, which we'll show you a couple examples in our presentation. The reason why we decided to choose School AI versus any of the other applications that we are taking a look at in this summit, this is one of the only applications that is protected with the state of Connecticut data privacy laws. It is a teacher-controlled space, and no student personal information is put into the application. We then have our administrators working on some curriculum writing through AI, and they've been working with EduAdvance for professional learning and best way to help their teachers implement AI tools for planning purposes and again for student use. We also have been taking advantage of all of the regional opportunities that we have in the state of Connecticut for AI. So a couple of administrators and teachers were introduced last February to AI tools early on and just getting a taste of what it can do for us as educators. We also have our AI squad that the four of us are a part of currently with the Connecticut Association of Schools. And right now we're collaborating with a couple other Connecticut schools on developing shared learning experiences of what we're doing with AI. And currently we have a couple professional learning opportunities for teachers. At this point, all public schools have been introduced to the idea of AI in faculty meetings, and we've had conversations about the use of AI. At the middle school and the high school level, we've received professional learning in the summer, right before starting the school year. And then even at Massick, we have a professional learning community where a group of teachers, and I'm a part of that committee, meet at least once a month where we share ideas and come up with ways in which we can continue to use AI.
So as I said before, we have a framework for Monroe Public Schools' use of AI, and it's specifically not a policy because, the research shows and the advice we got at regional meetings show that because of the need for such flexibility and how it's ever changing with technology, a framework is a much better model for how schools should interact with AI. And so over the summer, we drafted a policy, and I believe it's in your board packet. And this framework highlights all the ways that we've worked with AI in the plan for AI. And you'll notice right at the top we have the vision of the graduate, because it's really important for us that anything we do concerning AI supports that vision that we have for our school district. It also highlights the student and teacher learning components, because AI is both a student and teaching or learning tool. For students, you can see it highlights their curiosity and supporting them in their learning journeys. For teachers, it assists them in creating better lessons and just continuously provides professional learning for them. And then also, this framework highlights responsible use. That was one of the things that we really wanted to address. And so it talks about our academic honesty and teaching students the responsible use of AI, because there is some signposting needing for students on when it is and is not appropriate to use artificial intelligence. And at the end, it has a way to adapt and change, because we want to make sure that this is a living document, something that can be adjusted as we learn more, because we're really at the forefront of this technology. We want to make sure we're continuously monitoring this for later changes.
So we're in the top of the first inning when it comes to AI, both in terms of AI's capabilities and our own professional learning. We're going to share with you some of the big ideas that we have, as well as some of the specific examples that are being used in the schools right now. So big ideas include creating interventions, progress monitoring tools, and standardized test supports. We're also looking to use AI to elevate our vision of the graduate core assignments. And we've also found this to be a great tool for translating for our MLL population, which is increasing. At the elementary level, through the guidance we've received, through the work that we've done, as well as what's developmentally appropriate, we are using it as a tool for teachers only. Students are not going to interact with AI like you'll see with the middle school and the high school. Right now, it's to support our teacher work. A couple ways that we're doing this. On the left-hand side, you can see how AI can be used by teachers to support our multi-tiered system of support. We've done a lot of work with our new instructional leaders, both Evelyn and Kara, looking at our Ames Web assessment and finding the specific needs for individual students. So to make our jobs much easier and be able to support our students better, we can create tools directly relating to these students' goals. So I can create a fluency goal. Let's just say little Joey Kabza has a fluency goal and is looking to increase his oral reading fluency. We can create a tool with art-controlled syllables, ED endings, and specific sight words that he needs to work on, including maybe that he's a Yankees fan, and it'll include some of that. And we can create these, in seconds. We can create mental computation fluency quizzes to support students with math strategies. On the right-hand side, we've worked with our instructional leaders to look at our SBA assessment results as well as our interim assessment results to identify areas of need. So, for instance, this passage, I just asked AI to create a passage about polar bears and specifically working on two-step problems where students have to find the main ideas and also find the support for those main ideas. And these were areas of need based on both the SBA and the interim assessments.
So at the secondary level, AI has been incredibly helpful for us teachers as well. Specifically, School AI has been a great support for us. So some examples that Sean mentioned, but I'll mention again here for the middle school level is translating documents for our multi-language learners. So there's a platform on School AI where we can just upload any document, input any content, select the native language, and it will give it to us translated so we can better support our students. On the left, there's a translated space. So in School AI, there's a online platform called Spaces, where as teachers, we can create this digital space for our students, push it out to them in a controlled manner, and really tell it to support them in any way. So this was an example of a Spanish speaker trying to learn about the Bill of Rights. So, having documents in front of them, but also being able to interact in the space was incredibly helpful for them to really grasp the concept of the Bill of Rights. Another thing that we're able to do with AI is assessing and evaluating our vision of the graduate experiences. So we can literally put any competency into AI, and it can help to assist us with our students' progress in line with the vision of the graduate framework. It can also elevate our lessons and help us to create these really meaningful activities for our students. We did so at Jockey Hollow and STEM this past month when we did our critical thinking school-wide vision of the graduate escape room. Our ideas were there, but then when we fed it into AI, it really elevated our lesson to be something truly incredible.
And in the high school right now, we're continuing to bolster up our students' SAT skills. And it's March. The kids are going to be preparing for the SATs coming up soon. So over on the bottom hand, I have an example of how I was able to use AI to create SAT-style practice questions for my students. And this is across the board, not just in social studies, but for math as well. So certain style questions that I want students to get practice with, main idea, author's purpose, reading charts, we're able to put those frameworks into AI, and I picked the topic of Cold War. That's the unit that we were in, so that way I can get my students exposed to more SAT-style questions to prepare them for their exams.
So these are just some examples of other student use and interaction with AI, specifically with School AI. So like Emily mentioned before, with the data privacy, when we have our students at the secondary level using School AI, they are not signing into anything, they're not inputting any of their information, they just literally have to put their first name through whatever link or QR code that we push to them. So that's been really helpful to have this, safe spot for them. So some ways that we have this for student use is practicing and for study exams, and I'll give a few examples of that in a minute. Spaces for tutoring, bell ringers and exit tickets. And just to clarify on these, bell ringers are little quick initiation activities at the beginning of a lesson, like a warm-up, kind of to get the kids curious in the topic that we're talking about, get them excited, really engage them, to give them a little hint of what we're going to be learning. And then on the opposite, exit tickets are done at the end of the class period that help us to assess the students' knowledge, whether they got it, or we need to reteach. And these are really great because it helps us with our next steps. So again, if the class is not able to answer a couple questions on the exit tickets, then it tells us that we need to fix our lesson for the next day, or if we get the green light, everyone's good, we can move on. And then the other feature that's been really popular amongst the kids and really cool is chatting with historical figures. So School AI has a variety of historical people that you can create a space with and chat with. So this is an example of a George Washington space I set up for my middle school students. They're doing a early president research paper, and they got to speak with George Washington. So in addition to their book research, their database research, their website research, this was a cool little space for them to go on and really, interact with this character. And it kind of gave them a different taste of just reading and writing their research. And it's also really nice in this space that as teachers on our side, we can see everything they're writing. It signals to us if there's a student who's off task. We get like smiley faces, like green's good, yellow's like, maybe we need to check on this kid a little more, and then the red is like, red flag. And School AI in these spaces does a really good job through trial and error. We've found that if the more a kid tries to push to go off task, the more the space will bring it back by asking them engaging questions of, let's not talk about that right now, but what do you think about my presidency? So it's a really nice feature for us to engage the students in.
This is just an example of a similar space that Jackie was talking about, talking with historical figures. So this is a video example of when I use this space to have my students during our dehumanization unit in Facing History of Ourselves. It's a mix of psychology and history, and we're talking about Native American boarding schools. So I asked the AI to prompt and give my students an option to interview somebody who was living at a boarding school during this time period. And it prompted the students to choose a character. So they picked from a list of characters, who would you like to interview, and then the AI prompted students to continue asking questions of what it was like to live during that time period and what those experiences were. So a couple of the questions that you can kind of see in here, it highlights students' ability to strengthen their inquiry skills and really try to understand what's happening. But one of the students asked in this thing, like, how were you so brave, when your culture was being taken away from you and you couldn't speak your native language. So this also helps foster empathy with our students to try to understand things that other people were going throughout our history. It definitely deepens our historical understanding, and just the use of AI and storytelling just gives students a different lens into what we're talking about in the classroom. These tools, too, also help give teachers a chance to provide challenges for students as well who are excelling in the classroom. So if you want them to take that one step further to truly understand what you're talking about.
So these are some other examples, like I mentioned before, about student assessment preparation. So same thing, same idea. We can create a test prep review space. So the student on the left and the right are examples of my students preparing for an assessment. I just literally created the space. I uploaded my study guide and was basically like, help them with whatever questions that they have. The student on the left really wanted to do practice tests. The student found that that was the best way that she was able to study. So this space is really cool because it tailors their personalized learning and study skills to them. So she just kept saying like practice test, and the amount of times that I can come up with a couple questions, right? Versus the AI, it was amazing how many times she could filter through those. And then the student on the right, he just wanted to practice like writing out his examples. So he was just having a conversation with it back and forth. AI was where the space was quizzing him. He was giving the answer back. And then there's always like the follow-up question to re-engage them back. It's also really nice because they get instant feedback. So if they do get something wrong, let's say like that student got all those practice test questions wrong, it's able to let her know where she went wrong, maybe things that she should study on. So it's really like targeted review and that like, individualized instruction that they might not get just from coming to an extra help session with me.
Yeah. And if you just want a little bit more control of what students are seeing, you just make that specific aspect in the prompt. So the video in the middle was something that I did with my students when they were preparing for an exam on the Civil Rights Unit. I asked the AI to produce multiple choice questions as well as short answer questions based off of the study guide that I uploaded into AI. And then through the video, it gave a multitude of different questions. And if you notice in there, the student got it wrong, and it says, well, actually, this is the correct answer. And then it continues to ask more questions, but it always circles back to what the student got wrong. So it continuously is learning how to best support the student in what their study needs are.
So our next steps are, obviously, we want to continue professional learning. And actually, Jackie and Emily are both leading professional learning for our teachers during the March PD session for middle school and high school teachers. So that's going to focus specifically on student use of AI, so making sure teachers know how to set up those spaces across disciplines, so they can open up math spaces and science spaces and ELA spaces so that students have that access to that study tool feature. And then, we're going to continue rolling it out with elementary teachers as well through faculty meetings and some district-wide meetings as well. We also want to increase teacher membership on our AI learning team. We have a PLC at the high school. We're growing with Jackie at the middle school. We're going to get more elementary teachers. We want them to be a part of it because the more they learn about these opportunities, the more students will benefit from these interactions that they can have, and the more teachers will benefit from finding ways to elevate their lessons and save some time that they can dedicate to other things. And then we want to continue to refine this framework. At the end of the year, the school year, probably late spring, we want to kind of bring that summer group back together, look at the framework and say, we've now spent a year with School AI and with AI learning. How does this continue to reflect Monroe Public Schools and our vision? And is there any modifications we need to make before this becomes not draft and kind of our, again, living document, but kind of more set up moving forward? Did you guys have any questions?
I do. It sounds like really awesome. I use AI at work a lot, and
me too.
I have, definitely. It's great that there's the teacher and the student component, but what about when the student goes home? Is there a component or a functionality there for the parents to kind of have that same ability to use it to help with homework?
So that's the goal with Spaces. We want to make sure Spaces can live on Google Classrooms beyond the school day. So as teachers create those spaces, they can be used at home for extra test prep or for asking questions about material they might not understand. But because of the privacy, we do have to set it up on the teacher end. So once the teacher sets up a space, the student can use it. And if a parent's supporting the student at home doing homework or test prep with the student, they could use it that way.
Okay.
Not to make people's lives more complicated, but, we just talked about having 650 plus special ed people, right? Is there a part of this assessment, since it's going off a broad base of students, that you weed that out and see what impact that's had, not only on the students, but also on the evaluation process? Is that something you carve out for special ed?
We haven't yet gotten to the point where we can collect good, authentic data on to what extent it's improved those students. I think when we get to the spring testing results and seeing, different populations, there's a lot of different stories to how, students progress and do better. But we definitely want to keep our special ed students in mind, and there's so many tools that we can use to help those learners in, like we said, the personalized learning, the customized learning. So special ed teachers have been integral in this process of figuring out how to support
I'm just thinking of the
and
whole
regular
assessment
teachers.
Process. Maybe we could automate some of that. No?
Oh, you mean the individual
Right.
referrals and eligibility?
No, can't do that.
We can't do that.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Thanks.
Unless you want a team of lawyers.
Yeah, we still have to follow
Wait,
the law.
I got a speaker.
Question. So what is to prevent students from entering in personal information? I mean, the reason I ask is because I've found I use AI quite a bit, and generally your outputs are only as good as your input as far as prompts are concerned, right? So, for me, the more, because a lot of this has to do with personalization, right? You're personalizing content, right? Or study materials for the individual. So how do you weigh both without having some student data in there?
So one of the good things, obviously students can put things on if they enter it, but the good thing about School AI and why it follows the Connecticut privacy is, unlike other AI tools like ChatGPT, this language model doesn't take that information and use it as part of the algorithm. So it doesn't hold on to it. Okay. And so that's why we chose this platform, is because it doesn't do what other, some of the free ones that you may be using do. So if you put your personal information in that, you're adding to the algorithm. For this, it's a tool that they have a separation where it's not adding to the language model.
It only has to do what you put in, only generates to that output, and then it's gone.
Right.
So
and
if
to
I
the
was
teacher.
a 8th grade multiple language learner, and I'm inputting, I'm in 8th grade, I speak Spanish as my first, and then after that.
Right.
Okay.
Good work.
That's great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job, guys.
feel like I'm the only person that doesn't use AI.
Oh, you will. All the air traffic controllers will be all AI, so Greg and I decided that before.
All right, unfinished business. So we have some policies for vote tonight. So, first, can I have a motion to approve policy 4000.15145.44, personal certified and non-certified students, Title IX revised policy? Chrissy, first.
Second.
Second, any discussion?
It's the new revised. So.
It's the new old.
This is the new old, yeah, going back 4 years. No discussion? All right, all in favor? Passes. All right. Can I have a motion to approve policy 4152-6/4252-6, personal certified and non-certified personal leave FMLA revised policy? Jerry? Second, Dennis. Any discussion? No? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes. All right. So curriculum. This is second review, vote anticipated, draft motion. Motion to approve new course CAD 2300 and new curriculum resource for creative writing as presented. Can I have them? Greg and Jerry. Any discussion? None? All in favor? Passes. Okay, new business is approval of the proposed 2026-2027 district calendar.
I think you have to do the,
Yeah, creative writing.
creative writing.
Oh,
She did them together.
Oh, you did them
She just did
together.
them
I'm sorry.
Diane,
I'm
did you
sorry.
get
I
that?
only
She-
heard it.
I did them
those two
together.
together.
Yeah.
I only heard you say the
Yeah.
CAD. My apologies.
I did them together.
Ignore me.
Stay with the program.
The
Sorry.
policies were separate.
I did the policy
Yeah.
separate, but I did the curriculum together.
That's why I was confused.
Okay, so sorry.
Thank you for correcting me.
Okay. All right, new business. Approval of the proposed 2026-2027 district calendar. All right, draft motion. Motion to approve the 2026-2027 district calendar as proposed at tonight's meeting.
Motion.
Okay. Dennis, second by Craig. Any discussion?
The only thing I would add is, Joe, I know I asked this last year, did we give any thoughts to having a day off for the Monday following the Super Bowl?
I give thoughts that every year. I'm hoping the NFL just adds an extra game, so it pushes out another week. 'Cause we're only 1 week away now.
You're getting closer.
We did not talk about that. It's one of the few things we did not talk
We
about.
didn't actually. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Jeff, next year, calendar committee.
Yeah. Where were you?
Really?
We would that be like February 8th probably, which would make it kind of a tough because we already have the Friday, Monday off, but it's a tough day.
That's the only thing I would add.
I want to thank Sheila for putting, working together with everybody on the calendar. Thank you, Chrissy, for joining too. It's a lot of conversation, especially because Labor Day fell so late this year. The calendar's in front of you. You can see it, and as I mentioned before, we had 4 different proposals in front of us, and we chose proposal 5, which was like a little bit from almost every one of those. The only other thing I'll say is we try to get this out early so families can start to make their plans, maybe in a few months. We have not gotten the CES regional calendar for 26-27 yet. My only slight hesitation that we might want to come back to this board is if we are like an extreme outlier with our April vacation, we might want to readjust that. But I will send this to CES so they see that we've already come up with something. So hopefully that'll help influence them to do the same week. Because if we end up with, again, every year there's always going to be a neighboring district around us that has a different one. But we share some programs with, for example, the students that go to Fairchild Wheeler take the school bus to Massac. They wait at Massac, then they get on the bus to Fairchild Wheeler.
Do we have any at Aggie and Trumbull? Are there any?
Same thing with Trumbull.
Aqua, right?
And Aqua is the same thing. Aqua kids leave school early to go there, so they could possibly have school both weeks.
Right.
That would stink. But, and again, every year, there's always a district around us that has, an opposite April break. So if we see that we're the, major outliner, we might come back to this group. But I think the way it kind of falls, I have to imagine that the week that we've designated as the April break would probably be the most popular choice for the other towns as well.
Okay. All in favor? Passes. Okay. Next, approval of Jockey Hollow and Massive recognition and graduations. Draft motion. Motion to approve Jockey Hollow recognition night as June 9th with a rain date of June 10th and Massive High School graduation as June 11th with a rain date of June 12th. Greg first, Chrissy second. Any discussion? None. All in favor? Motion passes. And one more. So review and approval of the finance transfer request and transfer. This is a motion to approve finance transfer as presented as tonight's meeting. Greg first, Jerry second. Any discussion?
This is just, I don't know, Ron, if you want to say anything, but this is just kind of truing up. We had a wage adjustment line, and this is just kind of truing up most of those wage adjustments. But because it was over $10,000, like we had transfers earlier in the agenda, but those ones were less than $10,000. This one, since it's over $10,000, it needs to be voted on by the board.
Yeah, I was just looking at, I didn't realize we had speech assistants in the district.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Every school has one?
Every school, there's one at every school.
Oh, okay.
Any other discussion? No? All in favor? Motion passes. Mr. Stevens?
Madam Chair, motion to adjourn?
No seconds.
No, I say all in favor. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you all.